Right now, it is time for our second upload of the night, and an upload debutante from Romford. Musician Philip Ashdown is with us. Anything is possible is artiste name. He's uploaded a very kind of chilled track, and no surprise with a name like Euphoria as well, which we'll play for you in a moment. But firstly, thank you so much for the upload, Philip. How are you?
Hello everyone, how are you? I'm
Yeah,
fine, thank you.
it's lovely to have you on board. A brand new face and voice to BBC Upload family. How's the Wednesday been?
Oh, it's been very good, thank you. I've just come back from my parents in Hockley. I've been there a few days now, just chilling out.
Nice, excellent stuff. And was a normal sort of day-to-day life involving you? You working within music, or is this something that's very much a side project for you?
No, this is just a side project that I'm really keen to sort of exploit. I currently just work up in financial services.
Not massively creative field, the old financial services, is it?
Oh, I've been there, how long? 15 years now, so it's gone very well. I'm very pleased.
Good. Well, so when, musically speaking, did you begin a journey of thinking, I want to make music? Was there an epiphany moment for you?
Well, I've been playing bass guitar for a good 10 years now, and I was always just a covers artist on YouTube, just doing covers of my favourite songs for several years. So you can find all that on YouTube. But when COVID sort of struck, I decided that I was going to just do something with a lot of the music that I'd written over the last few years. So I've got absolutely loads and loads of demos and like bass lines that I'd created. And so I just decided to use COVID as an excuse to just start actually creating my own music.
Yeah.
And I decided that I'm going to actually just put out an album now. I've got all these demos that have just been sitting around doing not a lot, and I'm actually going to do something with it now. And I just decided that I'm just going to use all this spare time of sitting indoors on my own, not doing a lot, not being able to go out. I just decided, right, I'm going to put all those little bass lines together, come up with a little album, and I released my first album end of last year, which you can find on
Amazing.
Spotify.
I think this is again, we've mentioned it only a few times recently because we're trying to sort of always want someone who's looking forward, like just focus on what's ahead of us rather than necessarily what's behind and things and such. But and I know don't want to ever sort of make it sound like I'm being sort of throwaway about the last year at all, but there have been good things come out of it. We've kind of, people have found different ways of spending that time. We've been working on a project that they've put off for a while, or finishing a project that's kind of been bumbling along for a bit too long, and all manner of things. And it's lovely to know that if someone has sort of had their sort of passion of music on the sideline for a while, really kind of putting it front and centre as well. So, but what was it for you about bass? What was the draw to that instrument specifically?
Well, I've always enjoyed like a good rhythm section of a band.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my favourite musicians are sort of bass players and drummers, as opposed to like guitarists. So I decided that I'd like to pick up an instrument like 10 years ago, and decided on bass because there was people like Flea or Timmy C and Paul McCartney, those sort of people who are just absolutely amazing, just good rhythm players. So I just decided to pick up bass. Obviously, then did my covers, learning bass covers. I've done about 150 covers, so
Wow.
I can play quite a few songs.
What's the most difficult song that you've mastered on the bass?
Oh, that's a good question. That is. There's, I would say, oh, that's a good question.
Which one took the longest
Deep
to learn?
Purple.
But which one took the? Because I think, there's, generally speaking, as a musician who plays as a hobby myself, and lots of musicians we've spoken to, I think tends to be the one that takes you the longest to get right until you're absolutely happy with it.
I would say I've always liked Paul McCartney.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very sort of obvious choice, but he's undoubtedly amazingly talented in terms of just, you wouldn't understand that some of his bass lines are just really difficult.
Yeah, they
They're not
really
just
are.
very standard songs. They are very difficult bass lines to learn. And he's got so like, ridiculous amount of songs. So he's hugely talented and inspirational.
I think that's true. I remember playing the Guitar Hero games when they were around in sort of, I want to say probably late naughty sort of time, maybe sort of early tens and such, and they were sort of available on the Xbox and PlayStation and things. And there was a Beatles version of Rock Band, I think it was, or it might have been Guitar Hero, and you could play along. And I completed it on the drums because that's my instrument of choice. Relatively swiftly, I thought, right, how else can I challenge myself? I thought, right, I'm going to try and do the bass part, because it's not an instrument I'd ever tried to play before at that point, and thought, I'm going to try and do it left-handed like Sir Paul. And it's only when you start playing some of the Beatles songs on the game, you're like, these bass lines are ridiculous. How has nobody been like waving the flag for the quality of bass lines that Paul McCartney sort of recorded as part of the Beatles? And bearing in mind that was like 60 years ago, the likes of, as you say, like your Fleas from your Chili Peppers and the likes of many others, you know, they've grown up listening to that as their influence, and everything they can do, they've kind of borrowed and grown on. Sir Paul and John Paul Jones of Zeppelin and so on and so forth. Well. They're phenomenal, and I think it's a good bass line really can bring a track to life, can't it?
That's always the part that I always seem to just be drawn to, just the rhythm of it. I don't mind if like a guitar solo, but I just prefer a nice good rhythm to a song.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, guitar is just like showing off. That's all it is. It's a bit sort of like, look at me for 15 seconds, please. But the bassist always knows that, you know what? If I stop playing, this song's going to lose a lot of oomph. Same way a drummer works.
I think there's a saying, something about a song doesn't start until the bass line comes in. I think that's very true.
I'll take that as gospel, for sure.
Yeah, very true.
So talk to us about like Euphoria, the track we're going to play tonight that you've sent us. I assume you started with a bass line in your mind, and it grew from there.
Well, I released my first album last year, and that was centered around a lot of my bass lines. Then I decided that my first album was very sort of dancey and sort of like heavy bass lines. Then I decided that I wanted to try sort of chill out music. So I invested in a cheap synthesizer. And so this is my first example of, it's a standard bass line, just a few chords, and then a nice little synthesizer groove on top of it.
I like it.
So I'm going to try my hand at a few synthesizer songs, because obviously it's great to learn more than one instrument. I mean, I do like my bass line, but I'd like to learn the keyboard. I'd like to learn other instruments as well. Again, that's just on the creativity side of things.
Yeah, I think it's good to challenge yourself in whatever your art is. If you're a musician,
Absolutely.
you know, to challenge yourself by working in on different instruments, great. Maybe in a different genre, in a different language. If you're a singer, for sure, I think that's always a little challenge. But you know, whatever your art is, if you're a poet, you know, maybe to try a sort of different style of poetry, or if you're a story writer and you really like your sort of sci-fi, or maybe you're in a horror, that's your kind of thing. You know, challenge yourself to try and write a bit of romantic literature on the side. You know, I think it's a really good exercise as a creative person to kind of think, what do I not know how to do? I'm going to try and do that and just see how it goes and see what kind of comes out. How and where can we find you online, Philip? You know, I want people to be able to find all the other stuff you've done on, I'd say, YouTube as well. But you know, the album that was out at the end of the last year, and of course this track, Euphoria.
Well, you should be able to find me on Spotify. That's where I've centered a lot of my time and efforts. But you should be able to find me on Apple Music, Deezer, all the main parts. So it's just anything's possible that you should be able to find. The debut album was called Hello Everyone, How Are You? That came out, and it's just basically it's a picture of just me in the fields over in Hockley, just walking through the fields with my bass guitar. So you should be able to find me. I've had quite a few streams now. I've had some positive feedback from Mojo magazine.
Nice.
So they quite liked my first album, but so you should be able to find it. Anything's possible music.
Watch this space.
Find me on Facebook,
Spotify, YouTube, anything is possible. And the track we're going to play tonight, I won't introduce because it's not mine, Philip. But thank you for being part of our family. Look after yourself and stay safe. And perhaps in the future, once you've written some more, as everyone is invited to, upload it for us if you want to share it, and we'll happy to be sharing more and more music on the show via the upload platform. But will you introduce the song for me?
Okay, this is Euphoria. It's a 3-minute chill out song. Basically, I would suggest that you just close your eyes for 3 minutes, pretend you're floating in space, and just let your anxieties and stresses just disappear. Euphoria.
Our second upload of the night from Philip Ashdown. That is Anything Is Possible and Euphoria.
BBC Essex.
Love me an instrumental, so if you make instrumental music, get yourself on board BBC Upload.